Erica from A Little Insanity, and today I am bringing you a recipe called Mojo-Licious snack bars. The tools and ingredients that you're going to need are real simple. I need a few bowls. You'll need like a jelly roll pan. I've lined it with some parchment paper, and you just are going to need the ingredients. So we're going to start with the dry ingredients that are going to get mixed first, and those are the nuts. And whenever possible, I try to use raw nuts because one, they've not been pasteurized, they are fresher, they contain good essential oils, and they're just all the way around much better for you. Live enzymes and nutrients, always better to go as raw as possible. So I'm going to start out with 1 cup. 1 cup is going to be kind of the theme in this whole recipe, so it should keep it easy on you. I'm using cashews. You can use peanuts instead of cashews if you'd like. But because I'm using peanut butter, I try to mix up the nuts that I use and not do too much of one thing. The best thing about this recipe is that you can adapt this for your allergies. So if you have a little one or yourself that's allergic to peanuts, switch it for almonds or almond butter. Again, we're going to start out with 1 cup of raw cashews, and you're going to put that into your big bowl. 1 cup of raw sunflower seeds. 1 cup of raw pumpkin seeds, 1 cup of raw almonds, 1 cup of raisins. You can also substitute for currants if you have them, and 1 cup of dry shredded coconut. Now I want to make sure that you know this is not the stuff that you're going to find at your local grocery store. This stuff is very dry. It is not the sugary kind. This is actually 100% natural. It's raw and it has no added sugar, so that's the key here. So again, 1 cup of shredded coconut, and 1 cup of dried roasted soybeans. So this is obviously not raw. These are soybeans that are not genetically modified, and so they are considered organic soybeans that have been dried and roasted. Put those in. So now at this point, you've got a bowl full of dry ingredients. Just go ahead and give it a stir, just so that everything is well mixed. Okay, and at this point, you're going to just set this dry mixture aside. Okay, so now we're moving on to the wet ingredients. We're going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of organic brown rice syrup. Now, if you're a raw foodist, this is definitely not a raw food, but this could be a compromise. But this stickiness of this, can you guys see it? It is very sticky. This is going to help bind your snack bars together. We're going to add in 1/3 cup of agave syrup or agave nectar, and I like to get the raw agave nectar or syrup, and a lot of times you can find this now in Costco. Okay, back to 1 cup. Now I'm using a natural peanut butter. There is nothing but peanuts and I think maybe a little salt in this. Now again, this is organic peanut butter. You can substitute it for an almond butter, a cashew butter, whatever it is that you may or may not be allergic to, or your personal preference. You can also substitute it for a raw nut butter. Either way, you want it to be as creamy and smooth as possible. Okay, and so to give this recipe a little flavor, I'm going to add in about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I love vanilla, so I always go a little heavy on it. Okay, something that's going to help keep the snack bars moist is just about 1.5 tablespoons or so of a vegetable oil, but you can also substitute it for a raw coconut oil. I'm going to give this a real quick stir together. As you can see, I have all my liquid ingredients now in this bowl. Okay, so once you have this mixture just sort of in the bowl, we're going to add in 2 ingredients, 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. And a lot of people might be like, sea salt, ugh. But you know what? The recipe needs it, and it's really good because this is sort of a salty sweet recipe, and that's not too much salt. Okay, so right now you just want to give it a good stir after you've added the salt. You don't want anybody to get any of those salt clumps, so make sure it's well stirred. And at this point, we could make the snack bars just like this. However, at some point they're really not going to hold together well in a room temperature condition. You're going to need something that binds it together. I like to use a natural binder or a thickening agent, and that's called Xanthan Gum. If you're not familiar with it, you can look it up on the internet. There's some alternative thickeners that you guys can use, but I just have found that I like this one the best. So play around with it. The key with this though is that this will clump. So you're going to want to add just a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to tap a little in, maybe about 1/3, and I'm going to stir. This is going to make this very thick. Okay, I'm going to add in just a little bit more. Oh, this mixture is really starting to thicken up. Okay, I'm going to add the last of the xanthan gum. And again, give this a really good stir. Okay, so this mixture is starting to come together and get really thick. I've added the entire amount of xanthan gum, and as you can see, it's got a more caramely consistency to it. It's very stiff, and it's much harder to turn. This is the time where you're going to want that mixture to come up to maybe a warmer room temperature. So if you have a dehydrator, pop it in at about 120 degrees and let it sit there for about 20 or 30 minutes. You can pop it over a double boiler and just let it keep stirring. The goal is not to get this mixture hot. It's only to get it warm enough so that, again, the mixture flows very freely and will coat all of our dry ingredients evenly. So now that it's been warmed up and stirred together, we're going to go ahead and assemble the wet and the dry ingredients together. We're just going to pour the whole amount. You guys can see that. So now that you have poured your wet ingredients into the dry bowl, work as quickly as possible, but mix thoroughly. Keep mixing until everything's well coated. Now we're ready to add the nutty rice cereal. So rice-based cereal, so there's no wheat or anything else in it, it's just rice and salt, I think. What's amazing about this is these little boogers are rock hard, but also they hold up when you're adding moisture to your snack bar mix. This is 4.5 cups of Perky's Nutty Rice cereal. You're going to go ahead and add in your 3/4 cup optional chocolate or carob chips, and 1 cup of your broken pretzel pieces. This is where it gets a little harder to stir. I found that the best way to stir this, because it can get out of control really easy, it is starting to really stiffen up, is just to press the mixture into itself. So scoop up the dry ingredients and press it in. Well, you may also get in there and use your hand. Okay, so I've been mixing for about 2, maybe 3 minutes, and the mixture is completely coated. And as you can see, it's got a really nice consistency to it. It all sticks together. Make sure all of the pieces are well coated, or they're not going to stick together in the final product. So at this point, we're ready to transfer it to our jelly roll pan. You just dump the mixture straight into the jelly roll pan. There really is no science to this at all. There's no real right or wrong method. Just don't spill it on the floor. And now you're just going to start the task of pressing it into place. Make sure you try to spread it as evenly as possible. So once you have it somewhat evenly spread, you're going to take this back part of your spatula and just start going back and forth, using a little bit of pressure. And eventually this mixture will even itself out and you'll have a nice flat surface. Okay, so once the mixture is spread flat in the jelly roll pan, can you see that? The mixture is solid, but it's still pliable. You do need to let it set up. And the best way to let it set is in your refrigerator for about a half hour to an hour. But I like to cheat and I put it in the freezer for about 20 minutes just to get it cold and firm. And then we'll be ready to cut the bars. Okay, so the mixture has now been sitting in the freezer for about 25-30 minutes. It should be cool to the touch, and it should be very, very stiff. These little guys are not going anywhere, they're not melting anymore. The mixture has set up completely. If you guys haven't figured out already, I'm slightly anal retentive and I like things to look neat. So I actually pull out a little ruler that I keep in my kitchen, and I like to just sort of mark off with my knife, and I use an ulu knife to cut through this mixture because it is pretty hard to cut through now that it's been set up. And I just sort of mark off 2-inch by 2-inch sections. If that's not big enough for you and you want a larger snack bar, adjust it, make whatever measurement you want. It yields about 48 bars depending on the size. I just go ahead and take a little spatula and I slide under the first one. There's your snack bar. And they hold together really well. I just take a small piece of plastic wrap, I'll show you here, and I just go ahead and I put each individual one into a little piece like that. These will keep for 2 or 3 weeks in the fridge as long as they're wrapped up. The ingredients and the recipe, I'm going to put a link down below here on YouTube and over at the website at alittleinsanity.com. If you have any questions or comments regarding the recipe, you can leave them below over at the website and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy these snack bars. I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Goodbye. So how do they taste?
Mojo-Licious.